But now your calls on this. Should we deport all foreign criminals? So the Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp says that foreign criminals are routinely using tedious human rights demands to avoid being deported. His comments come after a wave of controversial foreign nationals have been allowed to duck deportation orders. At the end of 2023, there were over 10,000 foreign nationals in prisons. This is about 12% of the total prison population. So with prison overcrowding, should we just deport all foreign criminals, or does this open up the risk of violence and persecution in the countries that they are deported to? 0207 862 2222 is that number. Marvyn, what's your view on foreign prisoners?
There's a really strong part of me that says we have a system in place that I think if you do more than 2 years, you are up for deportation after that.
Is it 12 months or 18 months?
And I like that system because it has a threshold of accountability. We do know that a lot of people who are minoritized or migrants are over-policed anyway, and so what we don't want to do is create a system where the first thing is they get kicked out of the country. I do find the examples that I've been reading really disappointing. So things like drug dealers being allowed to stay because of being able to be a father figure. But I don't want to get into a police
Well, you
state.
think that's a bad reason to be able to stay? That you've
Yeah,
got to provide a male role model
I don't
for
think it's a strong enough reason to stay. I think you should be under review at that particular point. And it's really difficult when I know of real cases that are being put in place where actually people are having their human rights being violated in the country that they're being purported to return to, and they need that protection. And the idea of it being exploited really upsets me. But we cannot go into a blanket case of actually just saying everyone should be deported as soon as they commit a crime, because there are real things happening in a lot of the countries which Britain has played a role in destabilising and actually exploited a lot of cultural elements that are playing a role in terms of why they're not able to go back to those countries. And I think we should be a bit more aware of what that impact is. I just don't like the idea of it being exploited. So I think there needs to be a review of how it works.
Lowri.
I think that, number one, we elect a government, British governments, to look after British people. So actually, the welfare of British people is more important to me than the welfare of people overseas, because that's who we elect our governments to protect. I think that the problem with a case-by-case situation we have now is it encourages endless appeals, and it goes on and on. The longer somebody stays, they may get a girlfriend, they may have a baby. It makes it complicated. I do think that it's a privilege to come to the UK. It's a privilege to be welcomed here and to make a life here. And if you commit a crime, I think that you've violated that great privilege you've been given. So I think the default should be, I think there should be allowed appeals, but I think the default should be if you commit a crime of a certain level above, a violent crime, for example, drug dealing would be another one, I don't know what the list would be, that, yeah, you should be deported. The problem comes when some countries don't want to take criminals back, and other people, the human rights...
Sorry.
Human rights are used as a reason. To say, I can't be deported because I have a family here, well, they can go with you.
OK, but let's take the example of the drug dealer or somebody involved in the drug industry who has a child here and they've been allowed to stay on the basis that they provide a male role model for their child.
Not a very good role model if you're dealing drugs.
OK, that would absolutely be an argument for that. But what if the country you would deport them back to would use capital punishment to fit their crime? Are we then not morally responsible to protect them from that?
No, we're not. That person came here and we welcomed them, and they have violated that trust.
So some of these people have been here since childhood, and they are more British citizens than not. And so we start getting into the nuances of when do you actually become British. And I start thinking about my grandmother who came here from Jamaica as an invitation post-war to help with nursing.
And didn't commit a crime, did she?
And her experience here and being criminalised even as a woman, and even my experience now being criminalised as a black man, the amount of times I've been stopped by police for an array of things where I'm doing nothing. And I think about that being an opportunity to then send me back to Jamaica, I'm sure the idea would be, is absolutely frightening. And I don't think that's the kind of
And you would worry this might be a slippery slope.
It will absolutely get abused, as is stop and search and many other law and order processes in this country.
All right, don't go anywhere because we're taking your calls on this right after the break. Now, they make up 12% of the prison population. And even by your own opinion there, you think, that maybe it's a case-by-case basis. There might be some people that can appeal and be allowed to stay in prison in the UK. So we're talking about a fraction of the amount of space.
It's quite a big fraction. We're releasing prisoners early because our prisons are overcrowded.
But the majority of them are British.
Well, but the point is we haven't got enough space in our prisons. So one easy fix is to let's take those prisoners who aren't British and send them back to where they come from. And then you've solved the problem of the lack of space. No, you're laughing. It's a perfectly normal and kind of sort of common sense way to do things.
Well, my reaction to that is it sounds very simple, but actually what you need to take into consideration is that not all countries will do as they are told. So if the British government says, you need to take back these criminals, what if they just say no?
Well, then we say no aid. And the government have already talked about this. We don't give that country aid.
Is able to give aid. It's such a righteous, problematic view to have that you believe every country that has people leaving here for economic migrant it needs aid. And the reality is that like British people have this thing of like whenever people come and you don't like something, it's kick them out. They cost too much, kick them out, send them home. It's just like it's such a grotesque way to look at a human life. And in reality, when British people go to other countries, they act significantly as bad, if not worse, than any migrants that come here. So the reality is that actually look at yourself in your own behaviour and your own travel and how you conduct yourself.
Let's turn this on its head. And somebody we speak about quite often, Shamima Begum, on this show, she's in Syria. Syria would like to send her back here. We're saying no.
We are, but she's stateless currently, isn't she?
Well, we've taken away her British citizenship, which is another sort of crucial point. But what I'm saying is they could make their citizens stateless as well. So if we're not going to say yes to somebody like Shamima Begum, why should other countries say yes to their own criminals?
She's the exception that proves the rule. She's a very particular example. I think that if you are in a situation where we are paying to house foreign nationals in British prisons, there doesn't seem to me to be a good argument when money is tight, but why we are doing that.
For me, there's just a darkness where you invite people over to this country to
But often we didn't invite them over.
I invite them into this country to participate and to do all the jobs that you don't want to do. But then if you do anything that they don't like, it's like, get out of our country, and they're completely shunning them in society and acting as if you're hiding
crime.
No, but as I said before, when we talk about policing minoritized communities, it's not straightforward as he committed a crime. You can handpick particular stories of obvious crimes that have been done, but the consequence of policing everybody in that way is absolutely going to be significantly worse than it helps anything. So but you keep driving people out of this country, but there's still a massive, massive employment gap in this country, and the wages don't live up to what it is that people actually should be paid equitably for.
All right, so you're saying people should be able to commit crime because they're not paid enough when they come to this country?
You can simplify it all you want, but you have shown yourself. That is just a horrible thing to say.
I've shown myself as what?
It's disgusting.
I've shown myself as... No, hang on. I've shown myself as what?
That's absolutely disgusting.
Say the word you want to say.
People, what word am I trying to say?
You're accusing me of racism.
I said exactly what I meant, no?
Me of racism.
I told you exactly. I said it's disgusting. And I'm allowed to say that.
Disgusting?
I heard
what
you.
Specific bit
you can't speak.
disgusting?
Why are you're speaking about people who have come here as economic migrants or refugees?
Their choice.
And you're speaking about them as they're disposable. It's just like, whenever we don't like them, we send them back somewhere. That's disgusting rhetoric. You can't say that.
If somebody comes to the UK for their choice, they don't hang on. They don't come here out of great humanitarian desire to better this country. They come here for themselves, to better their own lives, to send money home to their own families. If they then, commit a crime, then they have no right to stay. There are people who have come here at our invitation, but there are many more, particularly in the last 10 years.
My family are a part of it, so it's
exactly.
just like
recent immigration is people choosing to come to this country.
I would argue
for financial reasons.
I would argue that people coming over here in small boats make a fraction of the amount of migrants coming over here. The majority of the migrants coming over here and people from other countries is completely legal.
But they come for their own reasons, not because they want to make Britain a better place.
Potentially. Virgin from West Yorkshire, what's your view on this?
From other countries, it is completely legal. But they come.
Okay, so you've got your TV still on, Virgin. Remember when they told you to switch the TV off or put it on mute, because it makes this a lot quicker. Tell you what, Virgin, we'll get you to sort that out in your own time, and we'll speak to Mary from Shropshire. Mary, what's your thoughts on this?
Hello?
Hi there, Mary. What's your thoughts on sending all foreign criminals back to their country of origin?
I just turned my TV off because I thought it was me. The thing is like, we've always invited people from foreign countries to assist us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Mary. But when they come to this country and they commit a crime, whether they've been invited or not, if you are in this country and you're not British and you commit a crime, should you have to go back to your country of origin, or are you then our responsibility to be put through the British judicial system and into a British prison, which are full to capacity?
Okay. I understand all the prisons are filled to capacity, but it isn't all the migrants' fault.
No, but there are 12% of prisoners that are not British nationals. So the question is, should they be sent back to where they come from, their original country?
Right.
Mary, I think you might have your TV on as well. It's causing a massive delay here, or it's just a terrible connection. But thank you very much for your call. Alan from Wakefield, please tell me you don't have your TV on.
It isn't on, love. Well, it's on, but it's on pause.
Great, we can have a phone conversation then, Alan. You've heard what the panel have to say. They're both very passionate on it. What do you think about sending foreign criminals back to their country of origin?
To be honest, with me, I would say all those that have not got a British passport, they should all go back. However, the ones that's been accepted with open arms and accepted as British and have got a passport, why should you send them back?
Yeah, we're not
their problem. It's our problem.
Alan, we're not talking about them at all. If you are here and you're a British, nationally British citizen, you have a British passport, even dual citizenship, I'm presuming, you're not accounted for. This is 12% of people that are in our prisons that do not have a British passport.
Well, then they should go. Simple as that. But
is it simple as that, though, Alan? Is it simple as that when we could have invited them here to fulfil vacancies in a job market that we need them to do? Is it fair if they're going to go back and get capital punishment for some of the crimes that they might have committed here? Is it fair if they're going to go back and face violence and persecution? Is it fair if they've started a family here and they have friends here?
We shouldn't have even allowed them in here without having a passport, and they should go back.
Yeah, but Alan, these people do have passports. I think we're talking. I don't think you're grasping. These people have passports, and they have come here potentially legally. They have just committed a crime while they are in Britain.
Right.
Are they our responsibility, or do we send them back?
That's our responsibility. It's nobody else's. Why should you push them onto somebody else? It's our problem. Well, because we've accepted them.
Okay, Alan. Thank you very much for your call. Thank you for all your calls on that. I think we were all talking at cross purposes at some point during that conversation. Don't forget.